T minus 50 seconds.
Hey everybody, how you doing? Welcome to Kitchen Table Conversation. I did that absolutely backwards. Supposed to be the countdown, then the intro. So anyway, how's everybody doing today? Y'all come on in, man. Like and share this post, like and share this video. We appreciate you all for coming on tonight. Tell all your friends to watch Kitchen Table Conversations. Tonight's topic is huge, guys. You really need to be part of this conversation tonight because Tuscaloosa is changing demographically, socially, ethnically. I think I said that right. Doctor, give me a heads up if I said that right. Yeah, I said that right. Okay. I said that right. So it's changing, guys. So you know when things start changing, you have a census, you really start having all these lines and stuff changing. You see nationally, the state being sued and all this kind of stuff. So it's happening here in Tuscaloosa too. So we're gonna get into that in a few minutes. But right now, like and share, guys. Like and share. We need everybody to share that's on tonight. Tell all your friends, hey, tune in to Kitchen Table Conversation with Mr. Pip. Tune in and watch it. Tell all your friends. Go share it across the board so we can get some views. And also, you can chime in on it. You can chime in on this conversation because we need everybody's input because we got a professional person that's on this thing, on the show tonight, is going to really be able to break this down and answer your questions. So come on in and talk to him when he come on. The number right at the bottom of the screen, right there at the bottom of the screen, 242-1957. Call in with your comments and questions. We'll be glad to have you. So right before we get into the conversation tonight, guys, listen, next Sunday at 2 o'clock, right at the Benjamin Barnes Branch YMCA, we'll have auditions for Tuscaloosa Gospel's Best. I know if you saw the show last week, we talked intensively about it. We had the previous winners and contestants on, and we talked about how great this event is, how big of a fundraiser it is for the Barnes YMCA. Also, it's a platform pusher. If you got any kind of talent, you can rap, you can sing, you can dance, you can act. I think it's just, all that. If you got any kind of talent, show up at the Barnes Branch YMCA next Sunday around 1 o'clock, start lining up. You can get in for auditions. Listen, you got an opportunity. Use it right here in the city of Tuscaloosa. Use it. So that's next Sunday, starting at 2 o'clock. It started at 2 o'clock. Don't come at 2 o'clock trying to sign up. So get there early and sign up, and you can be a part of it. And it's going to be on Facebook Live, so all your friends and family and loved ones can see it. I know it's on my face, cuz that's why I got it there. Hey, Helene, I love you. So yeah, all your friends and family and loved ones can see it. So get to the Barnes YMCA next Sunday. All right. And also, there we go. The first Unplugged Business Networking Mixer 2020 will be hosted. I don't know why my flyer is blurry. Be hosted on March 19, 2020, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. right there. Hosted by Dorcas Britford right there at her studios on But anyway, more information, call Dorcas or her great husband. I don't know why my flyer is so blurry, but I fixed that. I'm sorry. I fixed that. Call her husband, Kelvin, and hit them up. They got vendor spaces. You get in, mix, socialize. We know how that's how things go. You have to be involved in what other people are involved in. I saw a quote today. It said, sit with successful people and see the conversation change. Right? Sit with successful people and see the conversation change. So if you want the conversation in your life to change, you need to start mixing with people with like-minded business people and things of such. So yeah, so those are our two announcements. Barnes YMCA auditions next Sunday for Tuscaloosa Gospel Best, and also the Business Mixer in March. We're going to come back more and more with that going forward. So if you know Kelvin or Dorcas, contact them to get more information about it. and we'll be plugging it as much as we can on this show. We're going to do a quick motivational moment, and we'll be right back with Dr. Mike Altman, and we're talking about redistricting right here in the city of Tuscaloosa. Be right back with you in just a second.
Blind spots. Blind spots are the places that we allow ourselves not to be changed. Areas that you won't allow your faith to touch. Where your faith is not penetrating and you don't see it. Vengeance and anger and hurt create blind spots. I'm not talking about good people and evil people, right people and wrong people. I'm talking about places where there should be love, but there's hate. Like maybe your heart. I wonder what is in your blind spot. Who is suffering in your blind spot for the lack of something that you refuse to give?
Man, that's so dope. Who is in your blind spot? What are you going through to keep you from seeing your future? Who is in your blind spot? Hey, Dr. Mike, how you doing?
Man, I'm checking my blind spots now.
Yeah, man. Bishop Jackson put you there, boy. I tell you.
Man, how are you doing?
I'm good, sir. I'm good, sir. Ready to get this topic on the way, man. It's so very important that we talk about this issue because it's going on not just locally, but it's going on nationally with the redistricting of city, state, county, local, all kind of district lines all across the nation. And people are really being left out of the conversation because they're not aware or informed of what's going on. So that's why we're here tonight, to try to inform the community and make everybody aware of what's the real.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the way redistricting has been a blind spot for a lot of places. Because I mean, yeah, look, why don't I tell the story? What's going on, right? So
I think go ahead, Mike. So the floor is yours, sir.
Well, I don't want to talk too much, but I'm, you take on this. But like, so the way this works is every 10 years there's a census, right? So 2020, it went around, they counted everybody. Hopefully, everybody filled out their form, turned it in, and then you get that census data back, and it tells you how the population of the city, in this case, the city of Tuscaloosa, whatever you're looking at, state, city, county, but the city of Tuscaloosa has changed. And because that's changed, we have this district map of 7 districts, right? I'm in District 1. Some people might be in 6 or 7 or 3 is north of the river, where we divide it up. And each of those 7 districts should have about the same number of people in it, because each of them gets to elect 1 city councilor. And so to make it fair, the districts have to be about the same number of people. So when we do this count, we see, oh, District 1 doesn't have as many people as it did 10 years ago when we counted. District 3 has a lot more. We got to redraw these lines to get it back in balance, those 7 districts back in balance. So that's like the basis of redistricting. But on top of that, you see like other changes. So the biggest one in 2020, if you look at the numbers, Tuscaloosa is now over 42% African American.
You want me to put that flyer up?
Yeah, put that up there.
Okay. All right.
And that, yeah, so it's 42% black. And then if you look at that white number, it's now 47.9% white. So when you add all of the non-white or minority groups, whatever term you want to use, together, you see that Tuscaloosa is now actually a majority non-white city. So that's like a big deal, because that means that when we think about the 7 seats on the city council, it should reflect that the majority of the city is in terms of how the districts are drawn. It should reflect that new non-white majority. Like 10 years ago, it was
flipped. Mike, address. I want to pull that out too. How does it look different 2020? And I'm gonna leave this up so let people look at it real quick. How does 2020 reflect from 2010?
2010 was the reverse. It was 52% roughly white, and then everything else added up, and the black population was right around 40%. And so when you look at the growth that Tuscaloosa has grown about just under 9,000 people. It was right around just over 90,000. Now it's 99,600 up there. It's about 8,700 people that grew. That growth, and this is remarkable. If you look at those like 8,700 people ish, only about 350 was white growth. The majority of that, massive majority of that growth was non-white. It was about 40 some percent African American, other growth in there. So it's so the city has really changed. And I think when we talk about redistricting, the job of redistricting is to sort of recalibrate the districts and the elections so that they're fair because of those new changes. So that's kind of that's what's in front of everybody right now. And so when you look at what that means, basically there's kind of three things to keep in mind. The first thing is this 52% non-white residents. So right now, if you look at the current map and the maps that are being proposed by the city council, of the 7 districts, 3 of them are majority African American districts or majority minority districts, 1, 2, and 7. In a new world, now this map here is the one we're talking about in a second. Okay. But in a new world, I don't have the other one because you can find it on the city council site, but it doesn't really help you because it doesn't have any. We'll talk about it in a second. It doesn't have any of the numbers with it. It just has a picture of the map. In this new 52% non-white majority, there should be 4 black districts, 4 black majority districts. And where you see where that should really happen is the line between District 6 and District 7. District 6 is about 41% black, but right next door in District 7, it's 72%, 73% African American. Wow. And when you separate that line there, if you move it over a little bit and redraw that boundary, you will pull some of those African American voters into District 6 and balance it. And District 6 becomes about 51% African American. District 7 stays about 55% black. So that move right there would open up a 4th majority black district in the city. It would reflect this new majority non-white population, and it would be what's fair. And then the third thing about this, so you have 52% non-white, so new non-white majority, which means we should have 4 majority black districts. The third piece of this is the federal voting rights law. The Federal Voting Rights Act says that a government has to make as many minority majority districts as possible. So if you can make a district a new, in our case, black majority district, by federal law, you have to. So the map that's kind of like the ground rule facts, right? 52% majority non-white, should be 4 majority black districts, and federal law says if you can make a 4th one, then you have to. So that's sort of the overarching facts. And the way you make that 4th one is by changing 6 and 7 to balance it out.
So what's the I'm gonna pause there for a second.
Yeah.
What's the pushback? Because I heard it was some pushback about redistricting and some of the city council or the city council as a whole, the mayor, I don't know specifically, but heard with some pushback. What's the reason for the pushback? Do you know, or what was your ideas on that?
I think there are people who see this and want it to happen on the council. I think there are people who see it and want it to happen, but are waiting to see if it can happen before they completely jump on board. I think there are people who hadn't been thinking about this. And I think there are people who are adamantly opposed to having a 4th black district. And I'll let folks figure out who's who. But I think there is some real resistance, but there's also some real openness on the council. So the way the process works, like here's the little story, is back in October, the mayor kicks this process off by basically the mayor has to make a map and give it to the council as like a starting point. And then the council goes, and then they have to make maps, and then they vote on it. Now they should talk to us. They should have meetings. They should, and then they vote on it. So October-ish, the mayor gave a map that used to be online, but it's not there anymore. If you go to Tuscaloosa Action on Facebook, they have a like a document. It's like a voting. It's like a redistricting FAQ, frequently asked questions, that has a link to that map, the mayor's map. The mayor's map only had 3 African American districts, majority districts, and did very little to change things. It literally just tried to get the numbers balanced out right. It was very, very like, how little can we change from what we have now? But that wasn't really his job. He was just getting that done. And then, and it had to his credit, it had a box at the bottom that had all the racial breakdowns for each district. That went to the city council. The city councilors themselves each sat down with and figured out what they thought their particular district should look like. But they didn't work kind of as a whole city. So that didn't have a kind of overall view. And then they put out somebody might tell you that I'm making this up, but I guarantee you this is true from what I heard from people who knew. They almost passed a map with no public comment the Tuesday before Christmas.
Oh, wow.
It got yanked off the agenda at the last minute. So that almost happened. And then we threw a hissy fit. A bunch of us threw a hissy fit. And now we've got these public meetings coming up. I'll talk about in a second. But then they put out these 2 maps that you can find on the city council's page. The maps that they put out aren't helpful because they don't have any data. They don't have any numbers. It's just a picture of the map. They don't tell you how many of any races if you put up the chart that I made.
Okay.
This is for that one with
this chart.
Yeah. So this chart is for the map that a bunch of us in the community worked on together. And we have the map, which there's the map picture. And then we have this chart that tells you how many people of what, the racial breakdown of every district. The city council maps don't have that. We can look at them and see where they look very similar to the mayor's map or to the current map, and so we know basically what the racial breakdown is, but we can't verify that the population numbers are right. We can't verify what the racial data is. We don't know. But from looking at the mayor's map, what we do know is it doesn't fix District 6 and District 7. It still keeps those just three Black majority districts. And so that map, both the mayor's map and both city council maps, they are not fair. They're not equitable. They're racially gerrymandered, and they're not legal because they don't fit that rule. You can take that down now, but they don't fit that rule of you have to have 4 Black districts. So, so that's where we came in, and we've started in November in the summer working on this, and gave it to the city council. We sent an email in November, a group of us, and then we went in earlier this month and presented this map. And so if you look, you can put the picture up first. We'll show the picture. If you look at this, this is districts. This is the map. So District 1 is the darker blue in the upper left. It's basically the same. It goes a little bit further east. It has to go into downtown a little bit more. District 2 gives up a little bit to District 7, which is 2 is the pink in the south there, and then next to it in the sort of gold, that's District 7. But you'll see that the line between 6 is the light blue on the right side next to the gold. That's 6, and then 7 is the gold. We move that line a lot further over, and that is what balances it out and fixes that what's called racial packing, where if you pack a whole racial group so that it's like 73% Black, like it is in District 7, that keeps them in one district and limits them from being able to be voters in the next door district that would make that a majority. And this is the important part, when you pack voters into District 7, like if you ever pay attention to city council, they allocate resources and funds by district. So if you've got a district that's 73% African American right next to a district that's 41% African American, that means that the African American community in District 7 is competing over one pot of money for all of their needs, right? And as opposed to if you move them into 6, those same communities would now have access to that 6 money, and it would make it more even and equitable, right? Because it's not all the Black folks in one district, and they only get one kind of pot of district money. So there's a kind of I try to tell people, like, it's about elections and making sure your vote counts, but it's also about making sure you get those lights you want, making sure the streets get clean in your neighborhood, making sure you get all that stuff, that money that needs to be spent in your neighborhood. For that to be fair, then we got to make sure these districts are equitably divided.
Okay, so I'm gonna throw a monkey wrench in the game right now because I don't care. So, hey Emily, how Emily doing? Emily's so sweet. I love Emily. So you just said if you racially pack a district, so that whole racially packed district with 70, 80, 90%, whatever, fight over one pot of money, and it might be issues all over that district that's equal. So you got to spread that little bit of change out of the whole district. But then if you got another district, they got a small group of certain people and a bigger group of certain people. Instead of being equal, your bigger group gonna get more because we know how politics works. Then your small folks gonna get left out. So your bigger group might get the sidewalks and the roadways and the speed bumps and the lights and this and that. And then the small group of people might not get nothing, maybe a stop sign.
That's exactly right. And we got to recognize, I mean, the more the more time I've been working on this and talking to folks and talking to people, especially people in the African American community, about it, the more it becomes clear, and this, everybody else knows this, that the issues that face the Black community in Tuscaloosa are not confined to any number of districts. And so when you draw these lines that pack people in, and that limits the possibility of a 4th Black district, the District 6, it prevents the kind of across the city cooperation and across the city power necessary to address issues that particularly matter, I think, to Black Tuscaloosa. And so all of the talk of there aren't 2 Tuscaloosas, all the talk of we're all one, and
that's the biggest lie I've been told of, man.
If you really want one Tuscaloosa, then let's make this 4th Black district, because that's what's going to get it for real, right? Like the real way you have unity is you share power. You don't keep all the power and promise to do stuff. And so I think that's at the bottom of this is it comes back to, is it fair and is it legal, right? And the only thing, and there's no other solution to this, there's no other complication. There are other issues people in town have with the redistricting maps, and fixing 6 and 7, which is the main heart issue, making that District 6 51, and it's going to be 50. It would be 51% African American if we, based on our map. You want to throw that chart up again? I'll show everybody this. So if what we think is a fair looking map, a legal map, the chart, the box, the chart, I got you. The big one. So if you look at this, and it's small, but this looks fair this is what would look fair. You would have District 1 would be 58% African American, and overall 64% minorities in general. 2 would be 54%. 3, there's nothing you can do about that because that's so far north. The only way to fix 3 is for people to stop moving north, honestly. And 4 is going to be what it's going to be. 5 is interesting because it's going to be, it should be about 50% white, right around 50% white, and then about 50% overall non-white, and then the majority of that non-white you see is going to be African American. So 5 is 40% African American, but it's got a really growing Hispanic population over there.
Yeah.
So Kip's going to have to learn Spanish. And then District 6 has would be 51% African American. It also has a growing Hispanic population. It'd be about 57% minority overall, right? And then District 7 is still a solid 55% Black majority and an overall 62% minority majority. So what you see is if it's 52% non-white, if you just look at the non-white, the minority column, that's what looks fair. And because the largest non-white community in the city is African American, that's why that 4th district makes sense. And so, it's kind of like, do this, right? Or you're going to get sued like the state did. the state of Alabama just got sued for the exact same problem with its Congress map, where they had one black district out of the whole map, and there should have been there was enough population for there to be two, but they had them all packed into Terry Sewell's district, and they got sued. It went to 3 federal judges, said redraw the map. They appealed to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, nah, redraw the map, and they got to redraw the map in 2 weeks. So the same thing. There's no reason for Tuscaloosa to get tied up in litigation over this. They just need to follow the law.
Yeah, we know why they're doing it. We understand why they're doing it, because they want to keep that 4th Republican vote on the council, whether they claim they're Democrat or not. But we know it's a Republican-led city council. And they keep their go ahead.
Well, put that chart back up. Look how blue that chart is. Whatever district you're talking about. So that's based on 2016 to 2020 voting patterns. The city of Tuscaloosa is 64% Democratic voters.
But we know what that means. we know what that means in District 6, and we know what that means in District 3. Is it 3?
Yeah, well, I don't know which one. Yeah, it could be.
You know which one I'm talking about, Mike. Don't do that. Yeah. So, but we know what how they vote and how people vote, whether their ideology says Democrat or Republican, but we know exactly how they vote when it comes to passing initiatives or passing budgetary items and stuff in the city. We know what districts get left out and what districts, like I say, get packed in and end up don't get nothing. So so let me be quiet.
Well, I think too, I mean, no, the thing that got me, for me, where trying to figure this out all started was I was relatively new to paying attention to Tuscaloosa politics. I moved into District 1 over here on the West End in 2017 and started kind of learning about this area and getting to know people. And it was the Benjamin Barnes meeting at City Council where you had person after person from that district, from that neighborhood, connected to the YMCA, saying like, "Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this." I mean, I watched all those people videoed in on Zoom, and the council just went in and did what they wanted to do, and it struck me like, the thing about redistricting is you can keep fighting according to the rules of the game that's in front of you. But what redistricting allows you to do is reset the rules to make sure they're fair. And I think what we've seen over and over again, especially I think in the last few years, is a need to get that reset so that we can get this thing recalibrated so that the rules are fair. Because the number of people who say they feel disconnected from their government, that they don't feel like people listen, that they feel like they can't, that it's not working. And this is when we just had an election not too long ago in the city council. A year ago, and people are already feeling frustrated. I think it's because it's not about the elections. It's not even about some of the counselors. It's about a broken system where people where it's unfair. And so we got to fix that. And luckily, we've got math and the law on our side.
When it comes to this topic, when it comes to this topic, we do. So break this down for me, Mike. And Emily told you right. We talked about earlier. She told you right. So I'm finna pull your feet in the fire right now. So what happens if the district lines don't change? If they don't get sued or they get sued, whatever, what happens if it stays the same? What is it going to look like?
So these lines will be set for 10 years. One thing, if you look at the numbers, it's not just that the population has gotten more Black and brown in the last 10 years. It's gotten younger. And so it's only going to get more Black and brown. Like, I'm one of the few white people I know with 4 kids, right? And so the growth is not happening. The growth into districts like District 3, where you see a lot of people are moving in, mostly white, is not from people having kids. It's from people moving in from the county or moving in from other districts. And so or moving in from out of state, right? And that kind of moving in from outside of town. And so the growth that's happening in Tuscaloosa is driven by young families of color, and those kids are going to grow up and become voters in the next 10 years. So if you go to any of the West Side schools and you find, like, you go down to like MLK Elementary, there's like a 9-year-old there who in 10 years is going to be a voter, right? And he or she, if we don't fix this, he or she is going to be voting in a broken system, right? And we don't get another shot to fix it for 10 years. I honestly think that if this doesn't get fixed, and tomorrow, by the way, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., there's a meeting on this. So if you can get to City Hall, and I would encourage you to go, and they'll give you 5 minutes, but all you have to say, honestly, is I want a map with 4 Black majority districts. I want a fair map, because that's what a fair map is, and I want to make sure you follow the Voting Rights Act. That's all you need to say, because we just need to make it clear this, and because if it doesn't get fixed, it's going to go to litigation. And when I've talked to people about this who know more than I do about this, they've said, look, this is a case that could be won, but at the very least, it's going to be costly. And that's nothing that the city needs. We don't need to get bogged down in that. Because I guess the flip side is not to look at this just as, here's what's wrong with the city. This is, like, for me, so much of this is actually good news that the city should be embracing. We are growing. We are more diverse. We are a vibrant city. We're a young city in terms of where this growth is happening. There is a vision of a Tuscaloosa that is not just fair and equitable, but is growing, vibrant, diverse. And there are the people who are standing in the way are standing against forces of progress that are much bigger than them. And it will not last forever, but it's got to stop soon, honestly.
Yeah, it has to stop. And we as citizens and voters in Tuscaloosa have to be conscious of the process. We have to know that things happen for a reason. It's not just because happenstance that people don't want the lines to change. It's the reason why they don't want to change. It's not because, oh, that's too much work or we think it's better that way. No, it's a reason why they don't want things to change. So we need to be more conscious of what's going on and work for our future, because like you said, Mike, it's not about us right now. It's about those kids that's in the 4th, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, whatever, that's going to be voting in the next 10 years. How is the city going to look for them if they want to stay here? Or is it going to be 60%, 59% Black, or 60% non-white, and the majority white district rule the city? We know how that goes, because that's what I'm going to say, because that's what happened. We know that 06 runs the city of Tuscaloosa.
Yeah.
Okay,
I will say, I think you're exactly right. I think you're exactly right. I think that what's been encouraging to me is when we've had meetings and tried to get people involved and people to come. And I'm gonna answer Nicole's question in a second. That's a really good question about the university. But when we've had these meetings, there are actually people white people in the 06 who want to see a fair map too, and that's encouraging to me, because frankly, the District 3 counselor let's be completely honest, we need 4 votes to pass this map, to pass a fair map that has 4 Black districts. So I think all 3 of the Black counselors are on board, or at least are want this to varying extents. So we got to get a 4th vote from somewhere. And I honestly think that Councilman Crow is a very reasonable man and has people in his district for whom this is valuable, even if it doesn't affect them directly. And so
Crow is my leadership Tuscaloosa classmate. Let me call Norman tomorrow.
I think he would be the one to talk to, because he strikes me as a very reasonable guy, a very fair person. Everyone I've talked to has said that. And there are people that I know in his district who are writing him saying, like, hey, this isn't about us. but this is important to the city as a whole.
Mhm.
I think there are other people on the council who are terrified of the idea
Mhm.
of a fourth black
Of
district, and I think
course.
there are other.
And that's what
But to
district
answer,
what 6? No, let me stop.
um,
District not
uh,
4. Is it 4 or
not four.
6?
I think and I think four's got its own concerns. This goes right to Nicole's question. When they do the census count, they count students. So if you look at District 4, the number of people who live in it has gotten huge on the census data, which is that's the numbers we have to use because they counted all the students, even if those students may or may not vote in the city elections or may not be here or whatever. So the university does not have a direct effect on the districts, but the presence of all of those students, District 4 is right around the university, and then the historic neighborhoods kind of just around there. The students who live in that around the university have affected the count of District 4, right?
Okay.
And so if I was a counselor in District 4 and I was worried about, like, let's just pretend that at the university there was some underground group of fraternity and sorority people that ruled politically on campus. Let's just pretend that's true.
Yeah,
If
which
I was,
is
yeah, I know. But if I was District 4 representative or counselor, I would be worried about those folks turning on me, and I would want as many of the other sort of older established residents in those neighborhoods on my side as possible. And so that's why you see one of the things that people are talking about is moving some of those historic districts that are still currently in District 1 over to 4. So all of those, like Guildswood and Pinehurst over there off Jack Warner, those are currently in District 1. They're like the far end of District 1. Some of those homeowners association want to be put in District 4. I don't think there's a huge problem with that, really. But it would make Mr. Busby feel more protected from the machine. But I think that if they're gonna address that minor inconvenience to the homeowners in District 1 and 4, District 1 who want to be in 4, they need to address the massive inequality in District 6 and District 7. And there's no reason you can't do both if you sit down and work on it. And so yeah, so I think I'm reading Nicole's I think she's onto something here. But I think so that's the university doesn't fit in it directly, but they're in the presence of it is shaping this in that way.
Ooh, Nicole, you trying to start some mess, ain't you? That's good. That's a good comment.
I think that she has hit exactly what some people on the council are thinking. I also think there are people on the council. I think there are those. Again, I mean, I've told you who I think who I think could be convinced, and I've told you who I think is already supporting this. So do math. I'm not putting anybody's name in my mouth tonight, but but I think there are those who don't even want to have the conversation about how race plays into this and get really defensive. And frankly, there is a reason why a white guy like me has to be the one to bring this up to get attention to it. And it's wrong. It's wrong.
But I'm gonna tell you why, though, Mike. I'm gonna hip you to some game real quick. And my lovely people, don't get mad at Rodney Pell for putting this out there. But Black folks have been marginalized so long by the white man. I'm just gonna say it like that.
Yeah.
That when we see a white face sitting in office, we think ain't nothing can be done about that. So if you have that white face in District 6 always getting elected, we're gonna say, well, we can't do nothing with District 6. And that's the way those people on the city, some people, not people on the city council, but some people sit in those positions, think if we keep a white face in that seat, nobody black's gonna run against them because yes, black folks we're not monolithic, but we think a lot. Think alike a lot. So once we see that white face sitting in that seat, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong if y'all watching, we see that white face sitting in that seat, we're not gonna buck the system and they can do anything wrong. But if it changes and we get a black person in that seat and then we mess around and have a black person run for mayor in 3 years, you got a whole bunch of folks finna come out and vote then.
And this is
how
what was
changes.
Oh, for sure. And this is why, I mean, if we want to be really honest, I think this is why the District 7 race last year was so tough, was because you had a bunch of people fighting over one district when there should have been another black majority district right next door. So like from the outside, it was just like these, all these people are going to, and same thing with 2 had a ton of candidates. All these candidates are forced into the same district to represent their community, because they're kept out of District 6 by these lines. And I don't know who lives where, and I couldn't tell you who would have been in District 6, been able to run in District 6 if the line had been moved or not. But, and I'll tell you this truth, even if you use the bad map that the mayor put forward, that we have, the only one we have numbers for, like the mayor's map, or which is basically the same as the city council map that is posted. District 5 is 43.4% black and 45.8% white, according to the bad map. According to our map, District 5 is the fair map. District 5 is 50% white and 40% black, but 49% minority overall. Whatever, either map you look at, District 5 is about to be like the city. It's about to be a minority majority. It's not going to be a black majority, but a minority majority district in the next 5 years.
Exactly. We got to call him, Mike. Go ahead, call him.
Hi, Mr. Pugh. How you doing?
Hey, what's up? How you doing?
Oh, I'm good. Hi, Mr. Altman. How you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
So I'm good. So the comment that I made, I had another question to that. And that was, I said, assuming the ones that are against the 4th Black District. So say, for instance, if the 4th District did pass, would that make some people mad, of course, and would that like drive like property taxes up, home rates up, and just the whole Tuscaloosa gets so out of whack as far as, money-wise, as far as the black people affording it, they won't be able to afford it. So they'll, kind of like run back to the areas that are quote unquote reasonable for normal working class black people who aren't in those high numbers like the people that are in the other districts, if that makes sense. I think I'm kind of rambling, but
no, that's a really good question. No, I think if you got a 4th Black District, what it would actually do, and this doesn't mean you're going to get a 4th. This means that I was talking to was very clear about this. This means that there would be a district where black people would have the choice of the candidate that they choose. They might choose a white person, like they don't have to choose, right? But it would be somebody who has their interests.
Right.
You're not going to see you're not going to see changes in property values. You're not going to see changes like that. What you'll see is you will now have the ability for the council, because of that 4th black seat, to ensure that more black businesses are getting contracts with the city, to ensure that some of the programming the city does is more fairly targeted to the black community, to make sure that one of the things is you got to have votes for all of this stuff. So if there's a problem that needs to be solved in District 1 or 2 or one of the other black districts, now you've got a 4th vote to help you get that done. And so what it actually wouldn't affect property values. It wouldn't make it, I don't think you would see white flight out of District 6, because frankly, we're already seeing that.
I was going to ask you that. Was we experiencing from 2010? You said the numbers was 53% white, and now in 2020 it's 48% white.
Yeah,
is that white flight?
It's a combination of white flight, and I don't think we have a good answer yet. You'd have to look at like the birth data, like the birth rate data and all that, which I don't have in front of me. But it's a combination of white flight and black growth in lots of ways. I think you have people who are moving in, especially in like District 7. And so I think it's a combination of those two. And then, so I don't think you would get like a rise in property values and a kind of abandonment of the city, because the city still has so many things that keep people in it. Right. And what I think you would start to see is new policy across the city because you now have a new majority where if you can get agreement amongst the four black majority districts, whoever is representing them, black, white, Asian, whatever. If those four representatives agree about what their communities need, you will get new citywide policies, right? And I think that's the kind of changes that a lot of us think need to happen, is stuff that is that prioritizes, frankly, this new non-white majority in the city. Like, it's one of those things where I want to see a city that is growing. I grew up most of my life in Durham, North Carolina, which was, and I lived sort of more in town Durham, which it was a majority black area where I grew up, and there was a black Wall Street in downtown Durham, black banks, black industries, black investments, and starting back in the 50s through the 60s and 70s, and there's a vibrancy to that benefits everybody regardless of race. And I think until we see that the growth in the non-white community is a good thing for everybody, including the white community in town, and it creates opportunities for everybody and it creates jobs for everybody, we got to recognize that this isn't a problem. This is a really good thing if the city would actually the council will wrap its arms around it and run with it. But hey, people need to come out tomorrow morning or call their counselor, email your counselor, email Norman Crow, email Busby, and tell them that you think that this is important for the whole city.
And Kip and Raven and Cassius and Matthew and all of them. Email all of them. So, Mike, we just said a lot. So sum up what we're talking about in the next 30 seconds and where we need to be tomorrow, next week, and the week after. What we got going on.
So, so what we have going forward is we have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'll be there. I'll have flyers about the fair map. It also talks about what the other maps are doing. I don't know. I've heard the council is going to present their map, but their map doesn't have any data about this. And frankly, I don't know how much some of the leadership on the council wants to talk about the racial issue here. And I guarantee you when it comes up, they're going to deflect and say, let's not make this a race thing. But I don't know when voting in Alabama hasn't been a race thing. So
exactly.
So no one's making it a race thing. It's always been and always will be. And so we need people to come out 9 a.m. City Council chambers, and just make it clear. Like, it's a very simple message, because they don't have to use our map. Our map's a starting point. They just need to make a map with that fixes District 6 and District 7 and makes a fourth black majority district. And they need to do it by law. I mean, that's the message. And if you can't come, then send an email, call. We have a petition. You can go on to Tuscaloosa Action on Facebook. There's a petition there you can sign. There's a map there. There's more information. This information sheet is there. There's going to be another meeting. They haven't announced it yet, at 5 p.m. So they're doing like a 9 a.m. tomorrow, and they're going to do an evening one for people. And I don't know when that's going to be yet. It might be next week or the following week. So as soon as we know, we'll get the word out. But that'll be another chance to talk. And in between this meeting and the next meeting, Emily's ahead of me. I was about to say this. See, we're going to post a link where people can just put your name, and if you want to change it, you can, but it'll send an email to all the council and the mayor right there, like one-click email. So we'll put that email campaign up probably next week so people can get those emails out. So I think the only way this happens, because they can do whatever they want, and there's not enough votes on the council to stop it right now. The only way this works is we show them how inconvenient and messed up it's going to be if they don't do it. And then if they don't do it, there will be a lawsuit. I mean, I'm not going to do it. I'm not a lawyer, but there will be a lawsuit.
Yeah. Well, Mike, I appreciate you coming on tonight, man, and breaking that down. Do me a favor, that link and stuff you like that, put it in the chat or post, and I'll share it so we can get everybody informed and what's going on. And guys, I'll be right back with Kitchen Table Conversation. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks.
You realize that every day you thought you wasn't gonna make it, Do you remember them days where you thought it was absolutely unbearable and you thought you wasn't going to endure that one? Do you know that your survival rate for every last one of them bad days is 100%? Your track record for surviving bad days is 100%. That's a fact. Your track record, you batting 1,000. You'd have survived every funky day you ever had. You survived every hater. You survived all the evictions. You survived the firings. You survived all the tell you no we ain't hiring. You survived all the trouble you ever been in. Your survival rate is 100%. 100%.
All right, guys, man, your survival rate is 100%. Every day that you wake up is another opportunity to get it right. Every day. So make sure you take that. That's a good message to end the show off on. Guys, listen, tonight's conversation was awesome. It was very, very informative. Another saying is, we perish for the lack of knowledge. We have to be conscious of what's going on in our communities, whether it's political, economical, housing, business-wise, whatever. We have to be conscious of what's going on in our communities. We got to get involved. Maybe some of the reason why the city council is not putting out this information, because ain't nobody said nothing but a skinny little old white dude from Tuscaloosa. Maybe that's probably the only why they're saying it, because the little skinny white dude with crazy hair is the only one saying anything. So we got to say it for ourselves in our community, because if we broke these numbers down, non-white. So we got to get in the know and get in the game. So 10 years from now, our children can be proud of us changing the demographics of the city. Not just changing because of the color, but changing for opportunities, changing for advancement, changing for better neighborhoods, better schools, better roads, better bridges, better economical opportunities, better entertainment districts, better quality of life for all of Tuscaloosa and not just one section. So we got to get involved, people. 9 o'clock tomorrow, be at City Council Chambers. If you can't make it, they're going to have another meeting. Can't make that, email Norman Crow, Raven Williams, Matthew Wilson, Lloyd Busby. Their name ain't Lloyd Busby. Busby. I know a dude named Lloyd Busby. Whatever his name is, Busby, and Fails. Email those people, and Kip Tyner. Email those people and the mayor, and let your voice be heard. Because one thing I know, that when voices start trembling people's ears, they start listening and doing what's right. So let's get involved, people. I love you. We'll see you next week with more Kitchen Table Conversations. Get informed and get involved. Peace.